Good evening, YouTube. DutyRon back here again with another video. If you like all things true crime and if you like getting it from a retired New York City police detective, please stick around, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and we will get started right away. Tonight I'm going to talk about a video that may be sensitive to a lot of people. It is a gruesome triple murder out of British Columbia, Canada. If you are sensitive to this type of video, this type of case that I'm going to be covering, I ask you to please tune out. Thank you to all tuning in here on this live premiere broadcast. I appreciate each and every one of you guys watching, hitting the subscribe button, also leaving comments down below. That is awesome. To all my Patreon supporters and all the people who support my channel, kudos to you. Thank you for doing all that you do for the DutyRon family. To all my people who supported me on my 9/11 broadcast that I did last week, that was not an easy broadcast, and I want to say a special thank you to everyone who's reached out to me. It was a difficult week. It was actually hard for me to come and make a video here of this magnitude tonight, but I wanted to bring this video to you guys sooner than later because I came across it just 2 days ago. This case is disturbing to say the least. It is a husband who kills his wife and his two children, reminiscent of the Christopher Watts case. This case happened up in British Columbia in a town called Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. I know I didn't pronounce that correctly. I have a couple of news articles that I'll play for you guys, but this case happened in December of 2017. Actually, December 17, 2017, just days before Christmas. And the Christopher Watts murder case was in August of the following year. It is just so many similarities. It is just, to me, it was earth-shattering for me to read it. It shook my cage a bit when I read it, and I said, wait a minute, this sounds so familiar, and it happened before. So I wondered in my own mind if this was something that he read about or looked and saw in the news. I'm sure it was in the news. I knew nothing about this case. I never recall hearing anything about it, but let's get right into it. Again, guys, thank you so much for everyone in the chat positively interacting. That means a lot to me. All of the emails and the comments, I greatly appreciate that. This case, the perpetrator is Jacob Forman, 35 years old. He is his wife, Clara Forman, 33 years old, and his two daughters, Karina and Yesenia, 8 and 7 years old, were murdered on the night of December 17th, 2017 by their father. The case goes something like this. He was an alcoholic and was allegedly detoxing from alcohol on his own without any type of help. His wife got into an argument with him, Clara, got into an argument with him because she felt he was drinking. His excessive drinking came to a boiling point. She confronted him. He proceeded to take out a small sledgehammer and hit her 3 times in the head with a sledgehammer. Enraged over an argument, this is his defense in court because he did plead not guilty to the charges. He hit her in the head 2 times. She was screaming and said, "Why are you doing this?" And he hit her a 3rd time, killing her. His 2 girls asked him a short time later, why was mommy screaming? He told them that mommy was not feeling well and she was in bed and sleeping. He proceeded to take the 2 girls to church. I believe they shoveled snow a little bit out in front of the house because it was snowy. You guys will see a video after that. He proceeds to take his 2 children to church, and then after church brings them home and smothers the two children. Actually strangles them to death, not smothers. He played a silly game with them where he made them stand on their heads and then stand up and put their hands over their heads, and he took one of those horse heads on a stick and strangled them from behind, one at a time. You know, hearing this and saying it is difficult for me as a father, is difficult for you guys as viewers. It's a gruesome case. The police and the first responders that came up on this scene had to be traumatized. Just speaking about it, it's unnerving. He proceeded to take the bodies of his wife, wrap her in a sleeping bag, put her in the garage, took the two children, put them in plastic storage containers. You know, when you store things over the winter in a plastic container. He put them in the garage, and he went to work for 2 days. The murders took place on Sunday, December 17th. He went to work on Monday, the 18th, and on the 19th he went to work. Co-workers from her place of business, she was a health and fitness instructor. He was a plumber by trade, master plumber, supervisor at a plumbing company. None of his people from his job were concerned about the wife, but the fitness center where she worked, the girls kept calling, and he was telling them all kinds of crazy stories, like he had an argument with her, she left with the kids. Just the stories didn't jive. The girls, her friends from work, called the police, and they did a wellness check at the house on Tuesday, the 19th. He declined to let the police in. One second. Jacob Forman declined to let the police in, said his wife left him, and he hasn't heard from her. They went back, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, they came back to the location sometime later with additional units, and he let them gain access to the house. He again said that he didn't know the whereabouts of his wife. They searched the entire house, but they noticed that a piece of the carpet was missing in the bedroom, and they questioned him about the carpet. The only place that they hadn't searched was the attached garage. They went into the attached garage while other officers stayed with him, and they found the bodies, his wife wrapped in a carpet, and the two girls placed in a plastic storage container. Definitely Watts like behavior, narcissistic, sick human being. You will see pictures and video of this guy, and you will say to yourself, a beautiful family, a church going, according to the community, a church going man. Everything says that this is a good family. Okay, alcoholism runs, rampant throughout the United States and throughout the world. This is a Canadian story, so it's outside of the country. But for me, just mind-blowing that a husband can have an argument, or anybody can have an argument with your significant other, your wife, and take a sledgehammer and bludgeon her to death, and then proceed to, because he didn't think that the girls, his daughters, should live without their mom, and he didn't think that it would be fair for them to know that their father killed their mom, and he made a decision over a period of time, hours or whatever, to take both their lives in a cowardly fashion. He choked them from behind with the stick, the wooden stick with the horse on it, and killed his daughters, which to me is horrific. He pled not guilty, and the trial just recently was ongoing, and in the middle of the trial, in court in British Columbia, in Supreme Court, he was charged with 1 count of second-degree murder with his wife and 2 counts of first-degree murder of the girls. he stood up in court in the middle of the proceedings and said he wants to plead guilty, and that changed everything. He was sentenced to 35 years, life in prison, but 35 years he would be eligible for parole, which would make him around 70. I think he was 35 at the time, so that was 2 years ago. So he'll be about 60, 35. Yeah, so he'll be 70-ish when he becomes eligible for parole. I feel that he should not be eligible for parole, but up in Canada, I guess they do things differently. They feel that the parole system works good for them with making inmates act in a good fashion while they're doing their time in the hopes that they're going to get out. I don't think that this guy will ever see the light of day. I don't think any parole board will grant him parole. Again, guys, girls, I know this is a very, very difficult topic for people to hear. I'm going to show you 2 videos right now. They're short clips, but again, as a disclaimer, these are graphic details about this crime. It'll go over what I just briefly touched on with you guys. So if you are sensitive to this type of case, I'd ask you to tune out. The first clip I'm going to play is from the local news there. It's from right after the crime. So some of the information that I told you, I got ahead of myself and gave you basically a whole synopsis of the case. This is the first clip is going to be the first news reports of the crime. It's going to be interviews with the neighbors talking about how, good of a dynamic that the family had and how shocking, how their neighbors were shocked. So watch the first clip, and then the second clip is a little bit longer, but I'll play that concurrent with this, and you guys will get a good vibe for where we're at in this case, and then I'll wrap it up at the end, and we'll talk about how I feel about the sentencing. I'm not in agreement with him being eligible for parole at 35 years into his sentence. I think he should rot in jail. I think jailhouse justice should get him, although he'll probably be in some protective custody because of the nature of this crime. Criminals don't like abusers and killers of children. Unfortunately, with the Chris Watts case, he's still alive, and jailhouse justice hasn't been served on him. I think he deserves that as well. But let's watch the video. I'm going to clip back over to the browser scene here, and let's let this play. Again, this is the clip right after the crime. I think this is December 21st of 2017. So we'll let this play.
A small memorial with teddy bears, candles, and flowers outside a Bolotsky court home in Kelowna. A monument to a heartbreaking, mind-numbing tragedy very difficult to comprehend.
I can't fathom it, no. It's just really sad, really sad.
2 young girls and their mother murdered. The bodies of Clara Forman and sisters Karina and Yesenia found Tuesday evening inside their home. Police not disclosing how they were killed.
Do you see the kids out there playing at all in that?
Yeah, absolutely, all the time. Sweet girls. Really sucks.
The 3 victims allegedly murdered at the hands of the father, 34-year-old Jacob Forman.
They were just very nice people.
She's a care aide who works next door to the Forman family home.
I would never ever think that from that family, They were very just down-to-earth people, and he'd go to work every day and just appeared to be such a gentleman, And so, it's a shock for all of us here. We just wouldn't think that would ever happen, but...
Jacob Forman is a supervisor at a plumbing and...
That's the face of a demonic murderer. He wiped his whole family out. Jacob Forman, 35, right there. Demon.
Heating company. He's a devout Christian who has a leadership role at his small church. Clara Forman worked as a fitness instructor at a gym where co-workers say she will be dearly missed.
She was just a wonderful, wonderful mother, wonderful associate, and wonderful person.
Kids would come in and all that.
These are the 2 beautiful children that he killed. I cannot fathom. I can't grasp it. None of us can understand this. But these are the 2 beautiful lives that were taken at such a young age in their own bedrooms, where they would assume that they'd be safe by their own father. So just horrifying.
And yeah, they were sweethearts. They were just very lovely little girls, and we're going to always remember them and cherish them like that.
Showing no emotions or feelings, and with some of his friends and family in the courtroom, Jacob Daniel Forman made a brief appearance before a judge this afternoon on 3 counts of second-degree murder.
I will be receiving disclosure from the Crown.
This is his attorney. This is a defense attorney. I don't know how these guys do it. I really don't. I don't know how they could feel good about that. But I guess, it's a job that everybody's got, it's a dirty job and someone's got to do it kind of thing. But these defense attorneys, I don't know how they do it, guys. I really don't.
Clients, and I wouldn't expect the process to move really quickly. I'm sure there's all sorts of forensic investigations, interviewing of witnesses that the police are going to be doing while they're assessing the case.
Foreman was ordered to have no contact with 13 people, no reasons given in court. He remains in custody with the case adjourned for 1 month. Blaine Gaffney, Global News, Kelowna.
Okay.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
This clip is most current. This story just resurfaced just a few days ago because during his trial, which was ongoing, he pled guilty. In the middle of it, he just said, "I want to just get this over with." Guilt came over him, whatever you want to say. This savage beast decided to man up and say, "I'm guilty. I can't do this." So this is the report that's current, just as of a couple of days ago.
Tonight, and we begin at the Kelowna courthouse, where a local man has been sentenced for killing his daughters and his wife. Murders finally being revealed to the public. Our Claudia Van Emmerich is standing.
Let me put that back.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. And we begin at the Kelowna courthouse, where a local man has been sentenced for killing his daughters and his wife, with the details of the grisly murders finally being revealed to the public. Our Claudia Van Emmerich is standing by at the courthouse.
So just as a disclaimer, again, as you see, it says disturbing content. This woman on the right, the reporter in the field, is going to tell you in some details about the murders, about the 3 murders of his wife and the two girls. So if you're sensitive again to this, I got to put it out there. Just either mute it or come back in a little bit, because I'm going to wrap it up after this. We'll talk briefly about how I feel about this, and we'll talk a little bit more in detail.
Where Jacob Forman's sentence set a precedent here in BC. Claudia?
Doris, yes, thank you, and that is right. This is the first time in BC that a consecutive sentence has been handed down to a person convicted of multiple murders. Now, when handing down that sentence, the judge called these murders horrific and ones that shocked the entire community. At the center of it all, Jacob Forman, who was sentenced here at the Kelowna courthouse today to 35 years in prison before any parole eligibility. 25 years for the murders, first-degree murders of both his daughters, 7 and 8 years old.
You see, here's where I feel there was an injustice with the sentencing. He should have gotten 25 years to life for both, each of his daughters. They only charged him with one. They only sentenced him to one 25-year sentence for murdering both his daughters. It should have been 1 for each. So it should have been 50, and then the 10 or plus. 10 years is disturbing too. He murdered his wife. Should have got 3 25-year to life sentences concurrent. But I honestly don't think he'll see the light of day. But let's continue here. And this is the first case in Canada where they used the concurrent with the 10 years and the 25. So she'll talk about that here.
Now, those sentences will be served concurrently, but that will be followed by a sentence, the second-degree murder of his wife, Clara. That's 10 years. So 35 years in total before he is eligible for any parole consideration. Now, because there was no trial, because there were guilty pleas involved here, this really was the first time that these details of these murders came out to the public. And I can tell you, they are very disturbing. They were very difficult to listen to. The wife, Clara, killed in the heat of anger. His daughters killed under the pretense of playing a game with their father. Now, these horrible murders happened in December of 2017, just days before Christmas.
It's just, it's left a hole in all of our lives, in our hearts.
An emotional day for friends of Clara Forman, a Kelowna mother who, along with her two daughters, 7-year-old Karina and 8-year-old Yesenia.
Goddamn shame. It's just sickening.
Yesenia were murdered just days before Christmas in 2017.
Clara was the most beautiful, warm, loving, kind. I can't find enough words to describe her. She was incredible.
The murders of the popular fitness instructor and the two girls still raw for those attending the proceedings, many wearing shirts reading, "This one's for Clara." The killings committed by Jacob Forman, Clara's husband and the girl's father, who pleaded guilty to 1 count of second-degree murder and 2 counts of first-degree. With guilty pleas and no trial, the sentencing hearing is the first time we're hearing how Clara Forman and her daughters were killed, and the details are disturbing. Court heard how the couple were arguing in their master bedroom about Jacob Forman's alcohol use when he became agitated, grabbed a mini sledgehammer, and struck his wife in the head 3 times. It all unfolded here at the Rutland home. Court heard how after the first strike, Clara fell to the ground asking, "Why are you doing this?" When her fingers were still twitching after the second blow, he hit her 3rd time, killing her. Hours later, he took his daughters into their room one by one under the pretense of playing a game, instead choking them to death. 2 days later, when Clara didn't show up for work, coworkers became concerned and called police. RCMP attended and eventually discovered the 3 bodies in the garage. Clara's in a sleeping bag, the girls in a Rubbermaid container. After Crown concluded its submissions, the judge and Forman's lawyer began discussing timeline and the fact that a sentence may not come down until sometime Tuesday, depending on how long defense would take for its submissions. That's when, in a surprising move, Jacob Forman got up in court and said, quote, "I'd rather have this done today." Forman's defense lawyer told court how his client was an alcoholic who was suffering from withdrawals at the time of the murders. So as you heard, many difficult moments here at the Kelowna courthouse today when Jacob Forman was asked by RCMP why he went on to kill his daughters. He said that he rather had them go to heaven than live and grow up in a world where daddy killed mommy. So again, very difficult day here at the Kelowna courthouse. I can tell you there was a lot of crying going on here. Those supporters you saw in the story with those T-shirts that said "This one's for Clara," all saying it was very important for them to be here today. You see, Clara's family is not a local family. They live in Mexico in the United States, and they were unable to be here. So the supporters felt it was really important for them to be here to show their support and also honor Clara and her daughters. One other thing that we wanted to mention is that we did try to get reaction from friends of Clara and her daughters, but everyone's still saying that although it's been almost 2 years, that people are still very much traumatized by the events that happened in December of 2017. So no one wanted to go on camera, but I can tell you that they are satisfied with the sentence that was handed down here today, saying that it was appropriate. I heard some yeses muttered under breath as that sentence was coming down. So again, Jacob Forman sentenced to 35 years in prison, 25 years for the deaths of his daughters, and 10 years for the murder of his wife. Reporting from the courthouse doors, back to you.
Thank you very much, Claudia. Important details to finally learn tonight to have closure to this story. Thank you, Claudia.
Okay, guys, so that's the situation here from on this case. This is the this is the most up-to-date info that I could find. I didn't really want to go into the further specifics. I know that obviously family on both sides are distraught. His family, her family, as you heard the reporter say, her family's from New Mexico in the United States and was unable to be at the trial. I'm sure her mom and dad, I don't know anything about the family dynamic, are probably broken up if they're both still alive. I didn't care to look into any of the specifics. I was just trying to give you guys the actual case information. None of a trial didn't go forward. He did plead not guilty, but in the middle of it, I'm not quite sure exactly what phase they were in the trial when he stood up and said, "I plead guilty. I want to change my plea." I will look into that. I'm going to look into a little bit more on this case. I'll bring you maybe another video in regards to that. But again, I appreciate everyone that has stuck around. This is something that I needed to speak about because I saw such significant similarities to Chris Watts. I'm not obviously talking about that case anymore. That's done. It's a closed case. As far as I'm concerned, this pretty much is a closed case with the exception of some of the details. But everything that this guy did was definitely Chris Watts-esque, but he did it first. So it makes me think that there's a possibility of a little bit of copycat type situation on his end, perhaps. Just speculation. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Send me emails. Follow me on all social media. DutyRon on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat. I have a DutyRon YouTube share group on Facebook. If you want to join that, please send me an email at dutyron@aol.com. Go to my website, dutyron.com. I'm going to put a link on my website to the Facebook share group if you want to be a part of that. It's growing by the minute. A lot of people are joining that. So if you want to get in on that, thank you to everyone who has given Super Chat during this live premiere broadcast. Again, if you're joining late, we're covering the case of Jacob Forman, who murdered his wife and his 2 children up in Kelowna, Canada and British Columbia, right outside of British Columbia in Canada. Terrible, terrible case. Again, what makes somebody like this tick? What makes somebody snap and get the train of thought of, I just killed my wife, I'm going to kill the rest of my family? We don't know because we're not in the minds of these people, but it's just me. For me as a retired law enforcement professional, I can never really grasp this. I can never get my arms around it and understand it, and rightfully so. Guys, if you, like I said, if you have any questions or comments, put them down below. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can get all things DutyRon. Again, I'm a retired New York City police detective, 20 plus years in the New York City Police Department, 9/11 first responder, and I thank all my new subscribers, all my old subscribers, and everybody in between who, even if you just watch the video and you're not subscribed to me, I thank you for that. I do understand that time is valuable to all of us. So the time you spend here with me, I greatly appreciate, because I know you could be doing other things or watching other content creators. So much love from me to you. Thank you so much for watching this video. And again, all my Patreon supporters, a special heart and thank you to you guys for making this channel successful. Good night from New York City, and I'll see you again on the next video.